Finchler playing Bant Hexproof. You see Calcano on the right with an Orioles jersey. He is rocking red-green aggro.
Interesting. I would say, not the deck I expected from him when he said he'd lost twice to Bant Hexproof. Red-green aggro is one of those decks that's typically considered to have a very good Hexproof matchup.
That is correct. Now, maybe the addition of a card like Fiendslayer Paladin does change things around. Maybe Finchler is very good at drawing Unflinching Courage. Who knows?
Finchler does have 3 Fiendslayer Paladins in the main deck.
As we're going to see Calcano start off with a Rakdos Cackler. Finchler's on 6, Calcano's on 7, but Calcano is on the draw, and now he's facing down a Voice of Resurgence. He does have only 2 Pillar of Flames in his main deck this weekend, Matthias.
Right, so the only 2 in the main, this card is a pretty significant roadblock for his deck.
Yes.
Especially how explosive was the start he kept in this red-green aggro.
He does have a second land, and he does have a green mana, so he can represent something like a Gore Clan Rampager, which he has 2 of. Could have a Burning Tree Emissary draw here as well. See what he wants to do on his second turn here, but he's got to do some work to get past that Voice of Resurgence.
So you can go ahead and offer the trade, and as you called, Gore Clan Rampager is going to trample over for 4. I think Finchler's probably still happy with this exchange because it was Calcano spent his entire turn not making a permanent.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yes, I mean, that's as you said, his entire turn as a breeding pool is going to come into play here for Finchler. But that's a big thing here. Is now here's a Geist of Saint Shraft, so he's building up a board again. He does have a 2/2 elemental token. You see a Spectral Flight in his hand as well to go along with. It looks like an Avacyn's Pilgrim and another Voice of Resurgence. So an actually pretty good draw against a mono red deck here for Finchler.
Yeah, well, actually in this matchup, it's interesting. Normally you'd ask, who's the aggro in this matchup, and the question is, no one can play control in this matchup.
Yep.
Both the decks are just terrible at it. So it's really like Bant Hexproof is trying to race the deck it's just both players racing each other.
Yeah, just getting their battle on. Here comes a Rakdos Cackler. Now a Lightning Mauler is going to suit up and get into the red zone. Again, that elemental only being a 2/2 just wants to do something to get this stuff out of the way. Cackler's going to come across, put Finchler down to 10.
It correctly trades it with the Lightning Mauler. A lot of these plays are really straightforward in this matchup.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the decision comes in your deck building and your mulliganing in this sort of game.
So now it's the Geist of Saint Shraft facing down Calcano's double Cackler. And again, if you're Finchler, you're probably a little bit scared.
Well, yeah, I mean, so Finchler, like I said, this is a racing matchup, and Finchler is just the slower deck.
Yep.
So what he's kind of going to need to do is cheat the speed of the race with either those Fiendslayer Paladins or, an Unflinching Courage or a similar card. He doesn't have any of those right now, so the creatures are actually just racing each other. And in that situation, Calcano's just the faster deck.
So here comes your Angel, here comes your Geist. Going to put Calcano down to 14. Finchler in his second main phase going to come off with an Avacyn's Pilgrim and a Voice of Resurgence, get some jump blockers in the way.
What he's going to try to do is chump and race.
Yep.
The danger here is that, well, Calcano probably knows he can't leave back a blocker. I was going to say the danger is that Calcano can block the Geist.
Yep.
As we know, that's not possible. And Calcano probably has to know that out of the Hexproof deck, it's unlikely that, Finchler probably has an aura at some point.
Yeah, he's got to draw one eventually. Here's a Mountain from Calcano. See if he does have one of those 2 Hell Riders in his main deck, or if he has any sort of haste creature like a Flinthoof Boar, anything to kind of clear things out of the way, make it so that this Voice of Resurgence isn't such a pain in the neck.
Right. And counting here, and I think he's counting just to see how much damage he can deal, whether it's lethal. It looks like he has a Ash Zealot or Hell Rider in hand. I think we'll find out in a second.
I think Calcano knows he's in the point in the game right now where he can't beat Unflinching Courage, so he just needs to ignore the thought of that showing up and just try to get Finchler dead the best he can. So he's going to go with the Flinthoof Boar. He's going to give that haste, and in we go. So here comes the double Cackler and the Boar, and now Finchler deciding, all right, how do I block? How do I deal with this in this situation? How much damage can my Geist and my follow-up creatures deal? What happens if I draw a couple of auras as well? So you see he's balancing his life total, trying to figure out what blocks he can make while getting Calcano dead, potentially next turn or shortening the game and making it only go 2 turns.
Yeah, well, so the Voice of, Fincher's probably happy to trade off this Voice of Resurgence here, as it actually improves the creature.
Yeah, becoming a 3/3.
Yeah,
yep.
You can tell, and if you're Christian Calcano, and there's a little bit of body language going here. I know Calcano's a big player on body language. Finchler doesn't have the Unflinching Courage, and you can kind of tell that, with the way that he's counting, the way he's taking care, he's really making a decision. If he had a Courage, there wouldn't be as much of a decision to make.
So you're going to see the Voice of Resurgence token trade with the Cackler. Excuse me, the Voice of Resurgence, the front half, going to trade with the Cackler. He's going to get the Elemental token. You see him doing the math right now. So with the Angel coming in, we're looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus a Rancor makes it I think this is going to be enough because he got a Rancor there as well, and he also has a Spectral Flight. So we're looking at
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and it looks like 13, 14 with the swing.
Yeah,
it should be exactly enough.
I think that's going to be exactly enough. As you said, you've got the 4/4 Angel, you've got the 4/4 Geist, you've got the Elemental token that's going to become a 4/4 because of the Angel, and Calcano is going to pack it up. So Alexander Finchler is going to win game number 1 with his Bat Hexproof deck, defeating Christian Calcano and his red-green aggro deck, as we're going to move right along to the sideboards here, Matthias.
When someone has your number, they have your number. We're seeing that, I'm actually curious on this matchup now. When I used to play it and said that red-green aggro was the favorite, that was back around the time of Pro Tour Montreal. Hexproof has so many more weapons now. They won that game. At the time when I said it was a good matchup for red-green aggro, there was no Fiendslayer Paladin, there was no Unflinching Courage, and Finchler didn't even draw either of those. He won that game on the back of Voice of Resurgence. Another card that's come out since then. It's a glorified blocker. In this matchup, it may be enough to turn the race.
I mean, we saw it be a glorified blocker and then become a 4/4 on the attack back as well.
Exactly.
So it does, again, play both sides of the ball on offense and on defense. We'll take a look at Calcano's sideboard first. 3 Burning Earth, not at home here. 2 copies of Electrickery, 2 Skullcrack, 2 Mizium Orders, 2 Mind Sparker, a Legion Loyalist, an additional Hellrider, a Mark of Mutiny, and a Kessig Wolf Run.
All right, so Mind Sparker, one of the newer cards to come out of M14.
We're looking at a 3/2 first strike for 3. Whenever they play a blue or white instant or sorcery, it dings them for 2. So it's kind of like this walking pyrostatic pillar type card. I don't think it's great in this particular matchup.
No, I mean, there aren't many instants or sorceries in Finchler's deck. If you're looking at Calcano's deck, he's really he may go for a Skullcrack in this situation. He knows that Finchler's deck has a fair amount of life gain in it. Maybe a hit with an Unflinching Courage. Calcano will need that one turn to win the race. He can't let an Unflinching Courage connect and gain life.
Yeah.
You may just want to buy that extra turn.
So 2 copies of Skullcrack, and then Electrickery you can certainly make an argument for as well, because again, if you're assuming that he does have Fiendslayer Paladins, that thing's a 2/1. Invisible Stalker, of course, is a 1/1. Absence Pilgrim, of course, being a 1/1 as well. You might be able to catch a couple creatures there. We've seen AJ Soccer do that last weekend at SCG Richmond, where he did win, catching 4 creatures in a profit loss.
Well, Fiendslayer Paladin actually has protection from red.
No, it does not.
Wait, sorry, you're right.
Whenever it is targeted by a red ability, it does not have protection from red. So
Right,
it actually
good
makes
call.
it so that Electrickery in a card like Bonfire of the Damned will actually work on killing it.
Electrickery has to be overloaded.
Correct.
Okay, so in not such a, you're right. It may be a card that we will see here.
Take a look at the Bant Hexproof sideboard here, see if there's anything that he wants to use. He's got 3 copies of Triumph and Ferocity, 2 Cigar to Host of Herons, 4 Strangleroot Geist, basically a glorified blocker, 2 Fogs, 2 Mending Touch, an additional Fiendslayer Paladin, and a Ray of Revelation. Outside of that Fiendslayer Paladin, what do you think is going to join us?
Well, the Fogs are tailor-made for this matchup. He's just trying to race back. To win a race, Fogs a great life gain card. It's 1 mana, gain 6, 1 mana, gain 10. Gives him the extra life points to really push the matchup. We'll, of course, see the 4th Fiendslayer Paladin. It's one of the best cards against the red deck. We may also see Strangleroot Geist. You kind of saw there how Voice of Resurgence was this really strong card and that it blocked, traded it, and then hit back.
Yep.
Strangleroot Geist does the exact same thing. And I would be surprised to not see Finchler board that in. The cards he doesn't want are things like Invisible Stalker. Calcano doesn't really play much removal in the first place, so actually the Hexproof part of Bant Hexproof isn't as important in this matchup as is just the fact that auras are making things bigger.
Yeah. And it's kind of counterintuitive to board out the Invisible Stalker in this matchup or board out in any matchup, but I agree with you where Invisible Stalker is actually at its weakest in this particular matchup.
Yeah, it's just a 1/1 for 2.
Yep.
I mean, it's an unblockable 1/1 for 2, but the Hexproof part not as relevant.
So we'll see Calcano draw his opening 7, see if he can find a little more aggressive start this go-around, maybe draw some of those sideboard cards, potentially one of those 2 Skullcracks, as he is happy with his 7 cards. Finchler going to send it back, and that is one thing that the Bat Hexproof deck does quite a bit. It does mulligan. And I wouldn't say that it mulligans all that well either.
Well, it doesn't mulligan very well. One of the caveats of playing the deck is the deck is another one of those, kind of like Ramp, it's a 3-parts deck. You need a creature, you need the lands, and you need the auras. And one of those things is missing. The hands are pretty unkeepable. So, just like one of the occupational hazards of running Bant Hexproof is you're going to mulligan a lot.
Yeah.
And actually, probably, I would say 1 in 7 games, you're just going to lose by mulligan. And if you're uncomfortable with that, you probably shouldn't play the deck. You just have to hope it doesn't happen twice in the same round.
Yeah, it's a combination deck basically. It's strange to call this a combo deck, but you know, it needs creatures, it needs enchantments to get the job done.
It's a combo deck with no deck manipulation.
Yeah.
That's the scary part. You know, like most combo decks which want to put 3 things together, get cards like Ponder, Preordain, Serum Visions. This has nothing. It's just drawing cards and hoping it gets there. But that said, when it does, it has some of the best starts in the format.
All right, so we take a look. Is Finchler happy? He doesn't look thrilled, I think you could say.
You can definitely see it on his face. His hand's missing something. Looks like he's going to keep.
Yeah, looks like a pretty
Yeah,
it
almost,
looks reluctant if he is going to keep it all.
I would say disappointed, you know? Like, I got the impression of he knows he has to keep it, but he's really not thrilled about the fact that he is. He's actually, okay, no, he's going to go to 5. He actually counted there and decided to go to 5.
So down to 5 goes Alexander Finchler. This deck, again, it's not the best mulliganing deck, but if he's able to put together something that involves unflinching courage, you know, maybe a Fiend Slayer, Paladin, putting a Rancor or a Spectral Flight on it, he can steal a game.
Yeah, this might be one of those 1 in 7 games where, you know, the deck really doesn't show up. Which are saying, you know, is part of the deck, but that's why they play 3 games. If your deck shows up twice in a row, it's really easy to win a matchup.
Yeah, especially, you know, it's interesting that you bring up, too, that the mono-red matchup is very difficult for this deck. You know, cards that, it has cards...
I would say was difficult. I might be backtracking on that statement.
Yeah, it's weird because it has cards that are really good individually against them. I think, again, Voice of Resurgence, quite good. Of course, Unflinching Courage, good. Fiend Slayer Paladin being quite good. And I think you can say that Geist and Draft also very, very good against mono red. But, you know, being able to put together the proper combination of cards, again, with no manipulation makes it incredibly difficult. We saw Finchler win a pretty honest game 1, and he's going to go down to 4 here. So it looks like it is one of those 1 in 7 games.
Right, and when you think about it, 1 in 7 is actually like a significant percentage. You know, that's 14%.
You're the math teacher.
Yeah, it's 14.1428. Yeah, okay, 14. It's around 14%. So it's like, you know, reasonable, okay, but enough that for that to hit, you know, for that to hit 2 out of 3. That did 2 out of 3 times. You know, that's a little bit harder. Okay, so you should be able to most matches not have that happen.
So Finchler going to go down to 4 here. Calcano, I think he's pretty pleased here. He gets to play a 3rd game against the banned Hexproof deck. Again, if you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Matthias Sunt here in the booth. Star City Games Open Series featuring the Invitational. We'll be covering our standard Open here in New Jersey for you right now, as our top 8 has been decided for the Invitational. Of course, come back and join us for the rest of that coverage, beginning tomorrow morning at 11:30. But right now, our focus is on the standard portion of this Open, round 9 of, that's correct, 11.
Yep, we're round 9 of 11.
As we have just under 1,000 players here, our largest Open ever. And if you do want to join us on Twitter at SCG Live, hashtag SCGNJ, who do you think is going to win this matchup between Calcano and Finchler? Bet Hexproof versus Red Green Agile, as Finchler is happy enough with his 4 cards.
So kind of just going back to that theory thing where it's that like 1 in 7 doesn't win a game. Based on those numbers, it would be about 1 in 20 times that he just loses the match based off mulliganing. Which, you know, if I said that going into a tournament, the question is like, would you be okay with that percentage? If I said, you know, 1 in 20 of your matches, you're just going to lose, and you can't do anything about it. Your deck's going to lose those for you. 5%, like, is that acceptable? If I told you that a lot of your matches would just be great, I think it's fine. You know. You're less convinced.
I'm less enthusiastic about just saying 1 in 20 times you're going to lose. Maybe that's
not going to lose. How about 1 in 20 times it's gonna be really bad. Okay, you're gonna be like, you're gonna keep some real bad hands.
Addison's Pilgrim gets into the red zone. A replacement one going to come down here for Finchler, along with a tapped breeding pool.
I mean, Calcano's basically goldfishing right now. You know, his 1-drop can't be blocked by humans. His Ashdale can't really be blocked by Addison's Pilgrims either. How fast can Christian Calcano deal damage? Pretty fast.
Well, you know, even though Calcano is playing its opponent that has a mulligan down to 4, you don't want to get too cocky. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. You can certainly still lose to like running Unflinching Courage or Unflinching Courage into a Spectral Flight, and all of a sudden you're treading water while actually ending up taking damage. So
what you'd like to do is if you have something like a Searing Spear, you may just want to keep mana up at all times for Searing Spear. You would hate to have your opponent play Unflinching Courage, Ethereal Armor on one guy all at once while you were tapped out. You don't want to let that happen, just play it safe if you can.
So Pillar of Flame going to shoot down one of those Addison's Pilgrims, going to turn the rest of these creatures sideways, going to up the die on that Strongkirk Noble, deal 4 points over to Finchler, and pass the turn back.
So speaking of that, if Finchler has those 2 cards, he could put them together right now. He can play the land if his 2 cards are Courage and and ethereal armor, he could make it. Coily, take one.
Yeah.
Take one.
Finchler's hand right now, by the way, is a land and a fog. So this mulligan to 4 did not really come together.
Remember when I said, like, you know, oh yeah. Sometimes you're gonna keep some real bad hands. So you have to think his hand was like Absence Pilgrim, land, fog.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is gonna deal 20.
Yeah,
I got him on the clock.
This is gonna get it done, as the creatures are gonna come sideways here again for Calcano.
Yeah, that one, a full 7 damage. That puts Finchler, I think, down to 4. Does he even show the fog? I wouldn't.
That's the thing I was actually going to bring up is, do you even show the fog here? Because
No.
it's not going to win you the game.
Calcano expects it. It's not really an unknown quantity, but no, not at all.
All right, well, here's Geist of St. Trav. So what Finchler might end up doing here is, here's a Skull Crack from Calcano, going to put Finchler down to 1.
Okay. I like just how casually. Okay. Yep. 1.
What may end up happening here is that Finchler, as here's a Burning Tree Emissary, going to get an activation. There's a Rakdos Cackler. Is he gonna show fog? Okay, so he's not. Okay, so he's not, and I actually like that a lot.
Even if he drew Unflinching Courage, the best card in his deck next turn, he is still dead.
Yes.
Next turn. He has no live draws. Don't show fog. The thing is that even though Calcano almost certainly knows that fog's in the format, it might not be at the forefront of his mind right now. He can, by not showing it, he gives Calcano the chance to forget that fog's in the sideboard.
Yeah. So Calcano's going to tie it up here, and you see him pondering if he wants to go back to the sideboard, what he wants to do here. Does show Finchler a Skull Crack. Not that Finchler can really do very much about Skull Crack in this matchup, but he certainly knows that it's there now.
Yeah, the decision half of Skull Crack, or the interactive half of Skull Crack, is all on Christian Calcano. You know, the way Skull Crack interacts is that Finchler tries to gain life, and Christian Calcano Skull Cracks him. The thing is that it's not like Finchler's going to not play an Unflinching Courage because of Skull Crack.
Yeah.
So because of that, you know, showing it really doesn't give any advantage.
Yep, I agree with you. I certainly do. So Calcano happy with his configuration. Finchler going to take a look back through his deck again just to make sure that everything is tidy in the way that he wants it. And being on the play here, I think a big deal just in this matchup in general. I think being on the play, and as you mentioned, this matchup
it's a race.
It's just a flat race, so being on the play gives you a huge advantage.
You know, one of the ways I like to put this, whichever player stops attacking first loses.
Yeah. And there are simply some matchups like that. I know that, you know, last year when Black Red Zombies was a dominant deck, that was just a flat race.
Completely. If you stop, that's not to say that you should keep attacking when you shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you're in a situation where you're saying, boy, I shouldn't attack here, that means you probably just lost.
Yeah, you just basically lost the game. That's exactly what ended up happening. So this matchup, pretty much like that one. Neither of these decks really does block very well. I say of the two, I think Finchler's decks blocks better.
He has ethereal armor, which sometimes will give him a good creature worthy of blocking. That's sometimes. Interestingly, I kind of want to go back with the builds here. I think Finchler's build is particularly problematic for Calcano. The card which has been really trendy in Bant Hexproof, which he does not have, is Glade Cover Scout. He didn't have them in the main or in the sideboard. He's running the main deck Fiendslayer Paladins instead.
Truthfully, I like that omission. I haven't been very impressed when I've watched Glade Cover Scout.
I mean, it's a 1/1.
Yeah, it does have Hexproof. It does have the important keyword, but as you said, it is just a 1/1.
Good enough for Modern. I don't know about Standard yet.
The old Slippery Boggle deck, huh?
Yeah, well, you have lots of Slippery Boggles.
It's true.
They're just a little slippery. But you also have a million auras that cost 1.
Yeah. That deck wildly
like the
different.
entire deck.
Yeah, that deck wildly different than this one.
And you have Daybreak Coronet, which is just good. Alright, anyway, you're underway.
Avacyn's Pilgrim to start off of a breeding pool for Finchler. Calcano takes his first draw step of game number 3. Let's see what 1-drop he's going to start with. It's going to be a Strong Kirk Noble, so not bad.
Not bad. The Avacyn's Pilgrim is a human, so Finchler will have to play a creature that can block Stormkirk Noble.
And he's found one in Voice of Resurgence.
Oh my, what a daring keep here.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if he... the question is, does he know that Calcano doesn't have a lot of spot removal to take care of a Pilgrim?
Oh gosh. If you're Calcano... Okay, let's see. Burning Tree Emissary into Mog Flunkies. Voice of Resurgence doing a lot of holding off. Does he hit the land?
Draws a Fog.
Okay.
Looks
well, that will buy him a turn to hit the land.
It will do exactly that. Finchler kind of kept this hand pretty quickly. I think off the back of, if I draw a land, I can't lose, is what it feels like.
Looks like he has a Spectral Flight and an Unflinching Courage in hand.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure if he lands both those on the same creature, it's going to be lights out for Christian Calcano. What's really important again in this matchup is that Calcano has something like a Searing Spear. What Finchler can do is he can bait it. He can Spectral Flight a creature. Calcano will have to kill that creature because if he doesn't, then the Unflinching Courage can go on the 4/4.
Yep. There is another Avacyn's Pilgrim, so he does have mana sources. They are just happen to be lands.
Did Calcano board an Electrical?
Big
That is
question.
a big question right here. That would be a really strong play.
Calcano moves over a Strongkirk Noble. I think he's saying that, yep, the Voice of Resurgence is going to eat that one alive. I think that's why he slides that over there.
Looks like, is that, I can't be a Pillar of Flame in this hand. I thought it was for a second. I can't imagine we'd still be seeing it if it was.
I would be surprised if it was a Pillar of Flame that's hiding out in his hand. But he is going to go through the iterations here and figure out how to go about winning this game. There's a Mutavault. Here is a Flinch of 4. Give it haste, and he's going to get in the red zone with everybody.
The entire team. So, and you'd say, why is he swinging the Stromkirk Noble? This is a play which I think a lot of people who begin with decks like Mono Red don't make. Because they'd say, hey, that's just going to eat and Voice of Resurgence. Why would I play that? 2, 1, you're pushing your larger creatures through, which is of course important, but I think the bigger issue is that if he doesn't have any way to make Stromkirk ever get through, then this is kind of what Stromkirk does.
Yeah. And I like this attack as well. We're going to see some sort of blocker with Voice of Resurgence. It just depends on where it's going to be.
Well,
if he blocks the Noble, he'll end up taking 8, will Finchler and go down to 10. But if he wants to trade with Burning Emissary, he's going to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, go down to 11, but then Noble goes up to a 2/2.
Right. I mean, the thing is, the reason he may want to trade with Burning Emissary is he might want his Voice of Resurgence just to be bigger.
Yep.
He may prefer the token to the actual void.
Yeah.
I was going to say the elemental, but then they're both elementals. That doesn't actually work.
So it looks like he's going to make that trade with the Emissary. He's going to end up taking 7. You're going to get a counter to that Stromkirk Noble.
Certainly an Unflinching Courage coming up.
That's what it feels like, and he can't. Wow, this is an Unflinching Courage. You were right.
5.
He couldn't untap fast
Didn't even
enough.
care what he drew. Remember, next turn it's going to be a Spectral Flight.
Yeah.
So Calcano's going to need to skull crack his way to victory here now.
Yeah, can Calcano chase down that Unflinching Courage on a 3/3? He's going to play a land. He's got a Lightning Mauler and a Monfortes, and
he's going to race it. Yeah, let's game on.
So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage with Finchler at 15. That's going to put him down to 2.
Finchler opts not to block. He wants his mana and he wants his Voice of Resurgence to be big. Does he hit his land? Remember, Finchler does have Fog.
Oh, that's convenient.
That is a very good card right now. He does. The unfortunate thing for him is he cannot cast both Spectral Flight and Fog because he's stuck on white Breeding Pool.
Yep.
So,
He can't. It looks like he can only play 1 spell a turn. Those Avacyn Pilgrims, as good as they are, and the ability for them to actually get them back in the game, only white mana.
Yeah, and very few of his spells are just white. If he had an Ethereal Armor, well, that would just be gravy for him, but I don't think he does. It's not going to take too many hits for him to be in this. And yeah, all right. Wow. I think he's committed to the Fog.
Yeah, that's a really good read with that.
I think he's gonna play it. Okay, it's if you're Calcano, you'd be like, well, that attack's an interesting one. Remember, if Calcano has a Skull Crack, not really gonna matter.
Yep, I think he knows he's getting.
Oh god, yeah. I was like, I wonder.
Yeah, I think he's got I think he's got a bit of a feeling he might be getting fogged here. The important thing, of course, is that he didn't show Fog in the previous game, did Finchler.
Now, he's not actually at 3, I don't believe.
I mean, Finchler's going to push himself up to 8 life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He is at 8 currently, right?
Yes.
Finchler's at 8.
But the Hellrider, its damage can't be fogged. Its effect.
Oh, but yeah, this should be lethal. Well, it's not 8. What is it? Calcano only with 6 attackers.
Yep.
This is not lethal.
And he realizes that he needs to leave some blockers back just in case something goes wrong.
Like a Fog. So,
yes.
So what he is dead to still, no matter what, is if Finchler can play Spectral Flight plus a creature.
Yes.
That will get Calcano. Or Spectral Flight plus an Ethereal Armor.
Correct. And you see him going through the math right now about, okay, how can I lose this game? Because I don't need to attack with everyone. It's very obvious you have a Fog, so how do I go about trying to beat this Fog? How can I make it so that the following turn you're dead? It looks like he might have to attack with 4 and 4, but he could attack with like only 3 guys, put Finchler down to 5, the Fog will happen, and then he has enough guys back on defense so he does not die, so maybe he needs to leave 1 back.
He has to have there's also the thought in mind of what if my opponent has 2 Fogs?
Yes,
and then
also.
I mean, right, I don't think he has a way to win if he has 2 Fogs.
I think, well, I mean, Hellrider gets no. Hellrider doesn't get it done because he's going to gain life. Yeah,
Yeah, but
you're
he's
right.
gonna gain a bunch of life. All right, so take 4, puts him down to 4, and fog.
Yep, obvious fog. Calcano sees that
Can
coming.
he get the creature in the Spectral Flight? He has a Spectral Flight. Can he get the creature?
Oh!
I think he does.
He's going to get a Spectral
Oh,
Flight.
and you know he has it. You can tell. He's going to go ahead and play a Ranker, and that swings. Christian Calcano takes his 3rd loss of the weekend, all of them to ban Hexproof.
Alexander Finchler wins the match 2-1. Ban Hexproof taking down red-green aggro. Christian Calcano, as you mentioned, his 3rd standard loss on the weekend between the Invitational and the Standard Open. All 3 to ban Hexproof.
Yeah, and I think a really daring keep there by Finchler.
Oh, yeah.
On the play. He really likes the power there of Unflinching Courage and Fogs together. I mean, it's very hard to race that back. I think what we saw is Calcano's particular version of Red Green Aggro seems pretty weak to ban Hexproof right now. He has very little instant speed removal and not very many ways to interact with the lifelink that Finchler can play.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't have very much spot removal. Oftentimes in a mono red deck, you're going to see 4 pillars, some number of Searing Spears, and then sometimes you see some other removal spells laden throughout a deck list. Calcano with 4 spears, 2 pillars, so he's not only is he soft to, ban Hexproof and creatures in general, he's super soft to a card like Voice of Resurgence with only 2 pillar flames. Normally in mono red, the automatic inclusion of 4 pillars and then some number of spears just because Voice is so difficult.